if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
Waheguru Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to You Can, Inspiration for Life with me, Jag Singh. In 2004, the British government finally decided to allow Gurkhas who were fighting for our country the right to stay in the United Kingdom. This was a historical event for the Gurkha communities and the British society. But this wasn't an easy fight. An alliance formed, the Gurkha Justice Campaign, led by Peter Carroll and also by the TV celebrity Joanna Lumley, who's done work such as Absolutely Fabulous and The Avengers, my favourite. And these guys petitioned day and night for the right of the Gurkhas. Eventually, they won. I'd like to introduce my first guest today, Nitesh Gurang, ex-Gurkha, and also Peter Carroll from the Gurkha Justice Campaign. Thank you very much for coming down today, guys.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Before we start onto the conversation, I understand, Nitesh, you have something to say to the people.
Yes. On behalf of Nepal, I would like to personally thank the Sikh channel and all the organizations and people who have donated to Nepal after the earthquake
disasters,
that took place recently.
Excellent.
Thank you to you all.
Excellent, excellent. So all of you out there who have already donated in any form or contributed towards the Nepal disasters, thank you very much. And as a country, I think we have done a great job. Peter, I understand Joanna as well has been making appeals on behalf of the Nepal disasters.
Well, I think most people understand that Joanna has a special bond to Nepal. In fact, many people call her a daughter of Nepal now because of her work with the Gurkha Justice Campaign. And almost immediately, Joanna stepped forward and fronted the Disaster Emergency Committee International Appeal. And I think it says something about how people look up to Joanna, that in one day, she raised over £19 million through that campaign.
Excellent.
And I understand that figure has now continued to grow. Nitesh says, I think it's over like 50 or 60 million pounds now. So I think she has a special bond.
Brilliant.
She loves the country, loves the people, and it was wonderful to see that people responded to that so positively.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Peter. If you haven't donated towards a disaster and you would like to, you can please contact the Sikh channel or any reputable organisation or charity, registered charity, and your donation will be highly appreciated. So once again, thanks to the nation for the great effort you've done towards a Nepal disaster. Nitesh, so how does it feel still in the UK?
It feels fantastic.
Good. And what are you doing at the moment? What's your current occupation, please?
I'm currently driving as a HGV1 driver, going around the country. Predominantly.
So you're a driver, yeah?
Yep.
HGV driver. Okay,
I'm a HGV1 driver, and I'm predominantly covering the southeast region of the United Kingdom.
Wow, excellent, excellent. How does it feel?
Feels fantastic. I mean, it's kind of like a slow job with what I used to do before.
Okay.
But,
And this is all now possible because of Peter and his team?
It's all thanks to Peter Carroll and Tim fighting for the rights for the Gurkhas.
Peter, please, could you tell the people a bit more about the Gurkha Justice Campaign, please, sir?
Well, for me, it all started back in 2004 when I was a politician, a local politician, trying to stand to be a Member of Parliament in Folkestone on the south coast, which is the home of the currently serving Gurkhas. And to be honest, I was astonished when one day 4 Gurkhas who just left the army came to see me at home. And they told me a story which was so shocking that I wouldn't say I didn't believe them, but I was so shocked by it, I felt the need to go and check it out. They told me that one of their colleagues, Tej Limbu, who incidentally I've never met, somewhere in the world there's Tej Limbu, he'd been arrested and was being forcibly deported from the country. He'd been taken by force to a deportation centre.
By force?
Yeah, and I said to the 4 gentlemen that came to see me, I said, what crime did he commit? Because I thought they wanted me to help him because he got into trouble. They said, no, there was no crime. He just didn't want to leave Britain.
Oh.
And I thought, I don't understand this. He'd been in the army. He'd done, I think, 15 years in the army, and just simply wanted to stay in Britain to get a job, as you have done, maybe as a driver, maybe in security, whatever. And he'd been forcibly taken to a deportation centre. And at that moment, I knew that there was something deeply wrong here, because I'd heard from my own father the stories of legendary service and sacrifice from Gurkhas over generations. And that was the start. So it literally started on my kitchen table in Folkestone. Right. And it went through several years, and it ended up in the drawing room of Downing Street with Gordon Brown. Brilliant. When he finally said to Joanna, "You've won your campaign, they can all stay."
Oh, excellent, excellent. Peter, just like anything in life, when you're fighting for the right thing, you'll always come across struggles and obstacles. I mean, what kind of struggles and obstacles did you and your team face while fighting? Because surely it couldn't have been easy. I mean, it was a big wake-up call for the nation. I mean, what did you encounter, Peter, please?
I think the first thing we encountered was an almost lack of interest from politicians, because the world at that time was going through all the normal stresses and strains of national life, you know, just problems with the economy, the NHS, general politics, whatever. And to suddenly start talking about the rights of retired Gurkha soldiers, many of whom had retired decades before, trying to engage politicians was really, really difficult. It was also really difficult to engage the media, because the media, as you will know, tends to respond to things that are happening now.
That's right,
rather than something that might have happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. So we found those to be problems. Then we had the problems of our own inexperience.
Excellent.
Since then, I've done lots of campaigning, but at that time, I'd never done a national campaign.
So that was your first?
It was my first really large-scale national campaign. So you have all those problems. Even finding Joanna Lumley, finding her, was an enormous job. But I think... in fact, do you know how it happened?
I've heard this. Was it a we were talking about this on the way here. This is my story, what I've heard.
Yeah,
I've heard a bypasser, a public transport went by you and whispered something. Is that true?
Well, it's almost true. It's almost true. But I think it's a very special story, because anybody watching or listening to us now who's got a cause or an issue, I think these are the kind of things that you need to bear in mind. I teamed up with a fantastic firm of lawyers called Howe & Co, based in West London, the finest human rights lawyers. So I was working with them. And I was doing a street petition because the lawyers had got us into the High Court. This was in September 2008. And we were getting to the point where we want to be in the High Court. We needed to create some media fuss, attention. Yeah. So I was doing lots of street petitions with retired Gurkhas all across Kent. And one lady signed it in the town of Cranbrook in Kent. She signed my petition. Okay. And then she touched me on the arm and she said, "Pete, you're doing a really good job with this, but you need somebody famous to help you. Why don't you try Joanna Lumley?" That's all she said. At that time, I didn't understand the bond between Joanna and the Gurkhas, because a retired Gurkha... a retired Gurkha had actually saved her father's life at the end of the Second World War. So I went home, like you do, having done your day's petitioning, and thought nothing of it until I was actually watching one of these TV talent shows, Britain's Got Talent or the X Factor, and I got a bit bored. And I thought, maybe that woman's got a point. And I sat in the conservatory at home and I sent emails to about 50 or 60 people that I thought might know Joanna Lumley. The lawyers thought they had an email address that might be somebody who worked with her.
So it was a bit of a hunt for you?
Yeah. And I sent them off and nothing happened for 3 weeks. And then she just rang me up.
Did she?
She rang me up.
What was your reaction when you heard her on the other side?
Well, I missed the call. I was in a car and I missed it. So I had to take, I was taking my answer phone messages, and I had a message from a lady in Folkestone, because I was a local a campaigner, a local politician. She wanted some help with a benefit form. Somebody had some problem with infestation of rats in a local allotment. And then there was a third message that just said, "Hello, you've been trying to get in touch with me. Can you give me a call?" And the number. And I thought, odd. And I actually felt a bit cross. I thought, why doesn't this lady tell me what she wants? Yeah. And I rang, and it was only after a couple of seconds.
And this mum, you had no idea?
No, I thought, oh, it's her. And she was absolutely wonderful. She said, "Please explain the situation," which I did, that no retired Gurkha could live in Britain, which she was shocked by. And she said, "Peter, I'll be with you to the end." And from that day, she was with the campaign, 100% commitment, and she was later to say it's the biggest thing she's ever done
Excellent.
in her working life.
And when you look at the pictures and the photos on the internet, you can actually see with yourself and Joanne, you can see the passion that you had for these cause. You know, we can see it clearly shows.
Well, can I
that
tell you
was
just
doing it
two
from
short stories, two anecdotes about retired Gurkhas,
course you
which
can.
I think encapsulate why it was important that that wrong was put right.
the heart. Please do.
The first is that one retired Gurkha called Lechiman Gurung, if you could imagine now, forget all your daily troubles, come back with me in time to the end of the Second World
Yeah.
War. He was a young man, found himself in a trench in the Far East, two colleagues and him holding off many, many attackers, Japanese soldiers. And the Japanese threw a hand grenade, and Lechiman Gurung caught the hand grenade
Yeah.
and threw it back. An act of incredible bravery.
Wow.
They threw a second, and he caught it and threw it back.
Wow.
They threw a third, and he couldn't quite hold it, and it detonated, blew his hand off, blinded him in one eye, lacerated one side of his body, and disabled his two colleagues who couldn't fight anymore.
Wow.
He stood there literally single-handed for 4.5 hours. When he ran out of ammunition, he took his cookery knife and put it in the lip of the trench and shouted at the Japanese, "Come and get me, I'm a Gurkha."
Wow.
And I know it's not good to glorify war,
course
but
not.
he killed 36 Japanese soldiers to hold his position.
Wow.
He won the Victoria Cross. And do you know what happened when he wanted to come to Britain a few years later?
Go on, tell me.
It was about just before the year 2000, he wanted to come to Britain for, I think, a cataract operation.
Yeah, I heard about this.
The Home Office wrote to him and said, "You do not have a close enough tie to the United Kingdom to qualify for a visa."
See, that's the thing. That's the thing that
Yeah.
makes you sit back and think, you know, where's the humanity in that?
Well,
you
when
know?
I just tell you that story now, and obviously I've told that story many times, and even now, it gets me here.
Wow.
And the second short little anecdote I'd like to share with you is Joanna said something to me in the phone call, which was very profound. She said, "I will help you. Obviously, there'll be no question of money. I do it because I care. But I'd want, if possible, to meet one particular retired Gurkha called Tul Badahur Pun. And he was the Gurkha who saved Joanna Lumley's father's life
Wow.
at the end of the Second World War. And we found him. He was living in West London at the time. He'd been allowed in because he also won the Victoria Cross. He ran towards a Japanese machine gun post, and even though he was hit several times, he just kept running. And as we arrived on that first big day in the High Court, having secured Joanna as our celebrity lead, if I can put it that way, he was in his wheelchair at the top of the stairs, and we had to fight through the crowd because with now her involved, the world's media were there.
Yeah.
And with some of Natasha's colleagues at that time, I was pushing my way up the steps, having to push our way through the journalists. And when Joanna got to Tull, she bent down to give him a little gift, and he reached up, and through his interpreter, as he touched the side of her face, he said, "I remember your father. It's as if you're my own daughter."
Wow. Excellent.
And when you saw that bond,
Excellent.
it was at that point I knew that she'd never leave us.
Wow, brilliant.
She'd see it through to the end.
Excellent. Because Joanna was, like you said, she's not only there because from the start, and left it, she was with all the way through, and she lived up actually, Peter, to what she said that she'd be with you all the way through to the end. My aunt, my Bua, Indrajit Kaur, she said to me, Jag, that if you truly believe in something and you believe it's the right thing, I didn't get to spend much time with her because she was in India and I was in England, bless her. She always said to me, Jack, if you truly believe in something, and I was only 13 years old at this age, and she said, go for it, don't stop. Don't listen to what anyone says, you keep going forward, and you will achieve what you want. I mean, that's the same here, isn't it really? Yeah, you guys started something, and boy, did you go out there and campaign, and these efforts cannot be forgotten. The Gurkhas who have settled in our country, England, they're paying taxes now,
Yep.
driving our economy and our industries forward
Yes.
with your great work ethics. They've brought their culture to a country, and not forgetting their recipes. Oh my God, have you tasted their food? You want to taste their food, it is great. I mean, Nitish always brings food for us, and it is just so tasty. Nitish, how does it make you feel that you're contributing towards the goodness of this country?
Oh, it feels fantastic. I mean, you know that you're worthwhile being in here. I mean, you're contributing to the economy of this country. And
Brilliant, excellent, Nitish, excellent that you guys are now waking up, you're going out there, you're paying the taxes, education for your children, you're taking your children to school, great. And it's all because of these guys, the campaign. And you, Joanna Lamley, I know you're going to watch this, and you as well, we mustn't forget you. Peter, I think your team done a great job, you'll continue to do a great job if the Gurkhas need any more support. Who are your immediate team members that you'd like to mention? Who was the immediate
Well, obviously
members,
Joanna had a phenomenal role in the campaign, but the other people who whose contribution can't be overstated or overestimated was the human rights firm of Howe & Co, based in West London, because when I started to help the Gurkhas, quite separately, they'd started to help some Gurkhas who'd come to them through the asylum and appeals process. Okay. So they were going the legal route. And I think what made it such a great success was myself with the campaigning and the political lobbying, combined with the legal approach of Howe & Co, combined with Joanna Lumley's immense media appeal. Those three things coming together is what made the difference. Wow. But you've been very kind to say, you know, well done, Peter and Joanna. But actually, the people who solved this, you know, the people who solved this were the people of Britain. Yeah. Because all we did,
you guys out there,
was give the voice to hundreds of thousands of people who just said that's wrong. And we don't care what political arguments are made. We don't care that people are saying it might be expensive. We don't care that people are saying it might be oppressant. We're saying to the politicians in Westminster, it's wrong. Put it right.
That's it.
And that's what gave us the energy and the fuel. So the people who really won through for the Gurkhas were the people of Britain.
That's you guys out there. Very quickly, Peter, for you, before I came in today, I had a few emails come through. Ajit Rai from Maidstone, ex-Gurkha, says thank you for your support, for you and your team. Leela Bahadur from East London said I would not be here if it wasn't for the GJC. Binod Rai, Uxbridge, I speak for my family when I say thank you. And finally, Nandan Boo from Dartford says thanks to Joanna and the team who supported the right for the Gurkhas. I mean, Peter, what is your reaction to these messages?
To be honest, it's tremendously humbling, and I think this is a true statement from me that however long I live, the greatest privilege I think I'll ever have in any kind of public life or campaigning was the opportunity to help people like Nitesh. It was a privilege to be able to help.
Excellent. Nitesh, we've got long left. Nitesh, very quickly, recent in your life, two miracles have taken place. We spoke about this a little while ago, okay? So please tell us about the first miracle that's taken place.
Yeah, the first miracle was my son. He was born right when I was doing my resettlement package to leave the army.
Right.
Wow.
And he was quite eager to come out as well. And he was born, I think he was born 23 plus 4 weeks. So extremely premature.
How old is he now, sorry?
He's now 28 months.
Wow, so he's born in this country.
He was born.
So he's born British citizen in this country. Wow, excellent. Nitish, when your boy grows up, you can actually show him this video, and I think he's going to see you as a pioneer for the Gurkhas who's come to this country, who's been given the opportunity, and the children have been born in this country. And I think Nitish will be very proud of you.
Hopefully, yeah.
He will be very proud of you.
He should be when he grows up. Yeah.
Excellent. And the second miracle, Nitish?
Yeah, second miracle is when, last year, I did apply for my citizenship, and that's when it came through the post saying that you've been given.
He came to see me, Peter. He walks in and he goes to me, Jag, I've done it. And look at his face, look, he knows. He goes, I've done it. I said, what's the matter? What? He goes, I got my citizenship letter. And Peter, I can see the smile on your face right now, and I can imagine what the team's going to be thinking of the Gurkha Justice campaign. That this is all thanks to you guys. Otherwise, this would not be possible.
Well, as I say, I think it's all thanks to the people of Britain who got behind the campaign. Because, as I always said to the politicians, who came up with all sorts of reasons why it shouldn't be that you could live in Britain after you settled, that the bond between British people and the Gurkhas is not written in treaties or law.
No.
It's written from the heart and in blood, sweat, toil and tears. Because my ancestors fought with your ancestors, as you've recently fought with the people in the British Army. And that's the bond. That's why it had to be honoured, not because of all these legal and technical matters.
Excellent. One of my uncles, Hardabant Singh, aka Saab uncle, God bless him, he always used to say to me, and this applies to the Gurkhas as it does to anyone else in his country, when opportunity knocks on your door, make sure you make the most of it. And that, I think, applies to everyone, and it applies to the Gurkhas as well, to the Asians, to the Chinese, to every ethnic. When opportunity, that's what you make with that opportunity that matters. Because don't forget, that opportunity might never, ever come back again. Also, Peter, I remember that recently Sir Jack Hayward passed away earlier this year. I understand he made a massive contribution towards your campaign as well.
He did. Even though the campaign was very small in resources, it was myself, the lawyers of Howe & Co, Joanna, all backed up by the energy of hundreds of thousands of British people across the country. We were very small and had very few resources, and we needed a little bit of money. And quite, again, one of these opportunities, you mentioned opportunity, you should always take them in campaigning. I was getting maybe 200 emails a day from all over the world.
Wow, 200.
And I just saw one which actually looked like a fraud email. It said, my name is Jack, I want to help you, send me your bank account details and I'll send you some money.
And this was the...
Yes, but I didn't know that. So I actually said to Joanna, I'm not sure, it looks like it's come from the Bahamas. And she said, I wonder if that's Sir Jack Hayward. So I sent an email back, and what a man. He said, how much do you need? And I think I said something
That's why I brought him up, Peter, because he mustn't be forgotten for the good stuff he's done here.
I think I said we needed £11,000 or some figure, and he said, I'll send you 20, don't lose.
Excellent.
That was all he said. What a fantastic... Because he flew in the Second World War towing gliders with Gurkha soldiers in. And he'd never forgotten. And do you know one of the nicest things we were able to do before he died was we were able to go to Wolverhampton, which is like his spiritual home, and we gave him one of your cookery knives for him to take back to the Bahamas.
Excellent.
But what a man.
Excellent, excellent. So, Nitish, now, what's your plans for the future?
The plans of the future will
You
probably...
talked about house and on the way here.
Yeah, I mean, buy a house, settle down with the family, see the kids grow, probably retire then.
You've got a long way to go before you have to retire.
Nitish, it has been great having you here today. Peter, it's been great having you here. So like I said before to you guys out there, if you truly believe in something and you think that you're going to go out there and make a big difference, don't hesitate. Don't stop back. These guys didn't, Nitish didn't, and nor should you. I'm looking for people with challenging stories about obstacles and challenges that they've dealt with their life. So if you want to, please contact me, jagsing70 at btinternet.com, and I'd love to hear your stories. That's again, jagsing70 on btinternet.com. And I'd like to say thank you very much. Nitish, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
And Peter, thank you very much for coming. Welcome for watching. Thank you for watching. You Can, Inspiration for Life with me, Jag Singh. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.